Well, hello there. This is the Business of Becoming podcast, episode number 9. Today, my guest, Sachin Patel, and I are talking about something really important: how to set yourself apart in a crowded marketplace. Because let's face it, if you spend any time on social media, then you likely feel that there's so much competition in your niche, and maybe even at times think, why should I bother pursuing this if there's so many other people doing it already? We discuss a lot of different things in this episode, so make sure that you review the show notes page, which can be found at lauriekennedyinc.com/podcast. Sachin Patel is a self-proclaimed guardian of truth and warrior of light. He founded the Living Proof Institute as part of his own personal transformation. When he couldn't find answers through conventional medicine, he began to explore functional and lifestyle medicine, and it dramatically changed his life. Sachin is most notably a father, husband, philanthropist, functional medicine practice, success coach, international speaker, and author. His philosophy is that the doctor of the future is the patient, and he is actively doing whatever it takes to keep people out of the medical system and empower them through education, self-care, and remapping the mindset. So without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Hey, Sachin, thanks so much for joining me on the Inspired Hustle podcast.
Laurie, thanks so much. It's truly my pleasure to join you and share this moment in time with you.
So I'm really excited to talk to you because if you guys are listening semi in real time, last week there was an announcement that Amazon just purchased Whole Foods, the grocery chain. And for me, I got super excited because I knew what that would mean for my industry, for holistic nutrition, for alternative health. It just means cheaper, easier access to the kinds of foods that, you and I consume on a daily basis. So I'd love to start off the conversation by talking about that purchase and what you think it means for the alternative health industry.
Well, great question. And, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around it because they bought the thing with like almost $14 billion in cash.
I know.
And it's just an incredible number, but, good on Amazon. I think that it was a strategic move on their part in terms of increasing their distribution network, because distribution is a huge part of costs and warehousing is a huge part of costs. So I think what we'll see is a significant decline in the cost of goods being sold because of the decrease in distribution and warehousing costs. And the accessibility of things will increase as well, and we'll get things to us way faster than ever before, especially in major cities. So it's an exciting time for a lot of people. And here's what this does. Some people are probably freaking out because supplements and all this online stuff is going to be more available online. And they're going to freak out that their patients are going to go and buy these things from Amazon as their competitor. Listen, you can't compete with Amazon. So if that's your strategy to begin with, right, they're going to crush you. I mean, they crush multi-million-dollar companies. So what makes you think they're not going to crush like a small mom and pop, like nutritionist, if you will, right? That can't be part of your business strategy. These are commodities. So if you're playing the commodity game, then you're going to get crushed, because whoever has more distribution, whoever has more venture capital or capital to put into the game, they're going to win all the time. So the game that we have to play is the intellectual game and the game of wisdom, so that's something you can find. That's not something you can order through Whole Foods or through Amazon. Wisdom comes from experience. It comes from training. It comes from listening. It comes from understanding your avatar and the people that you're working with. So that's the game that everyone should be playing, not trying to be a commodity and be someone that, people are cross shopping, if you will. You have to really bank on your wisdom and the knowledge and the experience that you bring to the table and the passion, right? Like when you order a supplement, whether you order it from Amazon or whether you order it, a patient orders it from you, energetically, they're very neutral, right? The patient has the same feeling towards it. And if they get it cheaper, they'll probably feel better about it. But if they go see another healer and that healer doesn't have the same energy and the same experience as you do, then you're not comparing apples to apples anymore. You're comparing apples to oranges. So you want to be that orange when everyone else is an apple. And that's how you want to position yourself in the market.
So what are some of the steps to take to position yourself, as an apple when everybody else is an orange? And shift your mindset away from this whole, you know, there's so much information online for free. Why would anyone pay me? And that's very commodity based, scarcity minded thinking. So talk to me a little bit about what you've done in your own personal development and also in your business to become, you know, a standout brand and also shift away from like that commodity way of thinking.
Yeah, so a couple of things. One is recognizing the value of your experience and also the value of your network. So it's not just about me, it's about the people that I know. And what the closest thing I can think to a time machine is relationships, because relationships can catapult you to the front of whatever line you're trying to get in front of. So networking and experience and the relationships that you bring, that's what makes you unique. It's not the knowledge or the information, it's the people that you know. Really is what I've learned over the years. It's who you know that has, and who you have an impact on. That's what makes the biggest difference. If you're forgettable, then nobody's going to really remember you. You're not going to really stand out. But if you go above and beyond, then it's really easy to stand out. So I've become, through my networking circles, certainly not an expert networker, but I try to be of value to that person. And so anything that you can do is going to set you apart. The other way to separate yourself is just be consistent. So most people don't take any action. So just taking action sets you apart. But then even people who take action are not necessarily consistent. So then the consistency, now it grooves, it grooves a river, right? And it grooves a pattern in somebody's brain and in an alignment of how you think and how they think. Another thing to realize is that just like in your marketing strategies, you're looking to identify that perfect avatar and that perfect patient, if you will. Well, guess what? The patient themselves has an avatar as well. So they have an avatar of who they want to work with.
Yes.
And this is why people might say to you, I've been looking for you. I was looking for someone just like you. I couldn't find someone just like you. Well, the only way for them to find you, besides trial and error, is for them to connect with you in some way, through social media, through your blog articles, through a book that you might write, through videos that you might put up there, podcasts like this that you might be doing. That's how people can really get to know you. And once people get to know you, they're going to have something that I call a frame of reference. So now you become that ideal frame of reference in their minds, hopefully, because you're the most consistent message and most congruent message with that person. So anyone else they see, you're going to be that reference point. And what that means is, even if they go see someone else, they're constantly comparing them to you. It's like kind of like, your girlfriend, if you will, or boyfriend, right? You're going to compare the next girlfriend to whoever your ideal girlfriend or boyfriend type of situation is, because you've got that pattern grooved into your head. So it's easy to stick out these days. It's actually easier to do it than ever before. You don't have to really have a lot of capital investment to get your message out there. It's a lot of mental investment and emotional investment, getting over yourself, right? And really stepping into your message. But that's really all it is. And the secret is taking action. And then the secret on top of that is being consistent.
So let's talk about getting over yourself, because before we hit the record button, I said I really want to tackle this concept of fear and the lack of action that we see, you and I both see in, our sort of alternative health world, specifically practitioners. And I want to tackle it because you and I both feel very strongly that there are not enough trained, qualified alternative health practitioners to even, crack the surface on the amount of people that really need our help. And the fact that fear is stopping so many amazing, could be so perfectly qualified people, it really bothers me. And I know it bothers you too. And so let's try to unpack the fears and come up with some strategies for those people listening so that they can take action consistently.
Yeah. So one thing that I find, and this happens with, functional medicine practitioners as well. So it's something that plagues all healers, is you have to remember who you're following and you have to remember who you're trying to impress. Okay. And it's okay to try to impress people. You should be trying to impress your patients or people you want to do business with. I mean, what's the opposite of that? Like not impressing them?
Yeah.
So you should remember who you're trying to make an impact on. And so if you follow people who are like yourself, who are doing some amazing, incredible things, and you follow somebody like our friend Stephanie, if that's all, if those are all the people that you follow and those people are taking massive, consistent action, then of course it's going to seem like the market is saturated, right? Because you're following those people. But if you turn it around and you start to follow people who aren't taking massive action, then you start to realize like nobody's doing this, right? So you have to be aware of who your immediate circle of influence is, who you're following on these social networks. And what you'll realize that when you say everyone's doing it, you probably can't even name 10 people that are doing it. But it seems like everyone's doing it because they're consistently marketing around you and you're following them. So of course it's going to feel like they're doing it. And you're following them because there's something for you to follow, right? Because again, they're being consistent and they're putting a consistent message out there. So I had a conversation with a doctor the other day and he's like, everyone's writing a book. Like that's not going to work. I'm like, ask how many of your patients have written a book, because that's who you're trying to impress, that you have all this knowledge on, is your patients. Those are the people that are going to pay you when they come to your office. Mark Hyman isn't trying to find you. He's not going to pay you. That's not who you're trying to impress. So stop comparing yourself to a New York Times bestseller, because those people are inaccessible. Like they're financially inaccessible and probably physically inaccessible because of where your patients live. So people will come up with all kinds of excuses not to take action. If everyone's doing it, you have to ask yourself, why the hell is everyone doing it? They're doing it because it works. They're doing it because it produces a result. If nobody's doing it, then what are you going to do? Something that nobody's doing? If people aren't doing something, they're not doing it for a reason, because it doesn't work. So you kind of have to follow trends. You have to follow people that are taking massive action and doing things, and realize that that's a very small percentage of the actual world. So we have to remove ourselves from our little bubble of movers and shakers and kind of step outside it a little bit. And what I would encourage people to do is actually survey their patients. So take the top 10 people that you follow and ask your patients if they know any of those people, right? So ask your patient, hey, do you know who Laurie Kennedy is? Probably not.
Nope.
Right? Because your circle of influence is wellness business practitioners. It's not that patient. Right? So you're after a different target audience altogether. And so it's amazing. Like, people get so hung up in their little circle and they forget, like if I went to the mall, even if I went to Whole Foods and I asked people who Mark Hyman was, they probably wouldn't know. Because the majority of people don't know, but you know, because you're spending a highly concentrated amount of time in front of this person's content. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so funny because so obviously we're both very present on social media, and I have mom friends who, see my social media and see when I post something that we get like, hundreds of comments and engagement, and they're like, you're famous. I'm like, no, just in my bubble, right? Like just in my bubble. And in the same respect, I happened to see Tim Ferriss at a restaurant when I was in LA, and I shot a photo because he's my fantasy business boyfriend. And I shot a photo of him. And again, and I put a heart around it, and like my mom saw it, and my, non-entrepreneurial friends saw it, and they're all like, who is that? Who's that guy? And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? You don't know who that is? Like to me, it's as if Oprah entered the building, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody knows who Marie Forleo is. In my mom, like on the soccer field, like they don't know. Right. And so it really is like we are in such a bubble. And I think that in order to get over that fear, which I personally believe fear is a very poor excuse for not taking action. In order to get over that fear, you really do. Like I tell my people all the time, go spend some time in a Walmart. You will see that it's not saturated. You will very clearly see that there is room for all of us. Right.
Mm-hmm. It's not saturated. It's underserviced.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's talk about that, being underserviced and the sort of wave that's going to come for us, and how we as, a profession should actually start to get ready if we really want to seize the opportunity that is really upon us at this very moment.
Yeah, so a couple things. One is that we have to remember that human beings are social creatures. And so as much as we would like them to buy our online courses and programs and all this automated stuff that we create, what people really want is the human connection. So I've got practitioners that I've been coaching. You've got your summit that you hold every year because people want to connect, right? And they fly in from all over the world to be there because they want to connect with their tribe and their community and people who understand them. Well, our patients want the same thing. So some people might think, well, there's all these online courses and people can get all this information for, a couple $100. Why would they choose me? Well, they're not choosing you for the information. They're choosing you for the connection and the bond. And, that's something that's sacred to all human beings. And that's something that's missing in people's lives. So if you can fill that gap for them and layer on top of that your wisdom and your experience and, a good intention, then, you're going to have a lot of people coming to you that need your service that are not just going to find answers online. Online is the stepping stone for them, right? It's a step in the right direction to create the lowest denominator so people get it. So you're not having to come in and tell them to eat more vegetables. They're already doing that. But what they do need is somebody to really dissect their individual case. And so courses are great. Like you've got courses, I've got courses, but that human connection, that's priceless. And that's what we have to remember, that people are always going to be looking for. There's never going to be a time in human history where people don't want to be connected with other people. And in fact, today we're less connected, but we want to be more and more connected. So the more things move in that direction of that one-sided conversation, the more people are going to need and be willing to pay for that one-on-one time with somebody who actually listens to them.
Yeah. As you're saying that, the thought that's coming into my head is the word evergreen. And so what that word means is, in sort of online marketing speak jargon, it's where you can run a course or a program without any involvement from you at all. And I know that that's, living like the laptop lifestyle and having passive revenue and, evergreen programs. And it kind of irritates me when people come into my world and they're like, okay, I just want to have evergreen programs, and I'm thinking, but okay, well, how are you then going to have the impact and the connection with the people that really want you? Like if all you wanted to do was just produce a commodity, a PDF, things like that, then, just write a book and do nothing else, or just sell PDFs and do nothing else. Right. And so I agree with you in the sense that it's what sets us apart is that human connection, is that, like that go-giver mentality, the ability to like love up on your people and your community in a way that most other people aren't doing.
Exactly. People really aren't doing that. And it's quite unfortunate, because here's the thing. I think that you should have something that's evergreen, yes, right? Because there's certain things, certain truths, certain pillars that you offer people that will never change, that will stand the test of time.
Fundamentals.
But what doesn't, right, the fundamentals. So I'm certainly, and I know you're certainly not discouraging that, because I think that's like the online entrepreneurs, like, ticket, right? That's like them making the MBA when they have this automated thing.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like you need, but that should never replace the idea that you still want to inject, you still want to build and develop relationships with the actual people that you're helping.
Yes.
Right. It doesn't replace that. And so that needs to be part of what you do. I think that a lot of our passion as practitioners comes from interacting with people and watching them transform and having this two-way dialogue, instead of just assuming that everyone that's buying your program is getting better. Like, I think there's a certain energy that we get from knowing that people are actually, improving from what we're offering. And, you could have an evergreen component to your programs and then do Q&As, or you could have a Facebook group that you manage, which you and I both do. So you're still keeping your ear to the ground and answering people's questions and nurturing them and building that bond with them. And then, when they do want to work with you one-on-one, then it's really that two-way conversation that takes place. And again, there's nothing that's ever going to replace that. And that could happen over the phone. It could happen, in person. There's lots of ways that can transpire. And that's your highest touch point. That person is highly qualified, and that's what you get paid the most to do, right? Is to consult that person.
Yes, and I completely agree. I'm so curious, like, where do you see our industry, given that we now have the ability to do things like have evergreen programs that lead people into like the higher level coaching, personalization programs, the internet, Facebook, HIPAA compliant, like online chat rooms. Where do you see this in the next, 3 to 5 years?
Well, it's pretty obvious to me, and probably to you, a lot of people listening, that healthcare and health delivery is being decentralized and democratized. So it's, the health is going back to the people, right? Whereas before, people had to go towards health, and now, with all the information that's out there, people have the tools and resources to create health. Certainly from a biochemical and physical standpoint. But what's missing is the emotional and spiritual standpoint, because you can't order that on Amazon, right? And that again goes back to that human connection. And that's something that we have to really stand ground in, that can never be decentralized or democratized, because you can't do that to relationships. You can do it to information, you can do it to the rules, and you could do it to the regulations, but you can't do it to that human connection. And so if we just always keep that in mind, then we're essentially recession proof.
Yes, and I like that. And I totally agree. And I think that it's such an advantage to us. Like, so many people say to me, "Oh, I don't know tech and I don't know social media." And I'm like, why not? Like, jump on board, because it gives you the power to have this incredible impact and an incredible, financial future if you jumped on the bandwagon and took advantage of these, essentially free platforms that allow you to have such an amazing reach. Which I just think
Can
is,
I comment on that?
yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I think that people, listen, you're not a technician, right? Like you're probably a lot more tech savvy than the average person, and I'm a lot more tech savvy than the average entrepreneur. I mean, practitioner, I should say, not entrepreneur. So we have a skill set that many of the people that we consult might not have. And so what I tell people is, imagine a web developer trying to become a nutritionist, because that's not going to happen, right? So it would be very difficult or challenging for them to do that. So why are we trying to do the opposite, where a nutritionist or a practitioner is trying to become a web technician?
Mm-hmm.
You should know enough about technology, and this is my kind of golden rule. You should know enough about technology or anything that you outsource. You should know enough about it not to get ripped off when somebody charges you a fee for it. So you should know how much effort goes into building a landing page, right? And if somebody's trying to bill you $1,000 to build a simple landing page, then you're getting hosed, right? Because it's only like half an hour of work. The longest part of building a landing page is the copy. So, and most people don't know that, right? So they think that the copywriter is ripping them off, but it's really the web guy that might be ripping them off, because they don't know, they haven't developed these skills enough to know that when they're getting ripped off. So that should be the threshold of how much you know about something you outsource. And once you know that, then you want to find, vendors that are vetted in your industry. So I know you have vendors that you've vetted. In fact, we're doing some work with one of your vendors now. So we know that, okay, if Lori trusts him and I trust Lori, and I know Lori's got a keen eye for things, and she's done that. And then when that person sends me an invoice, because of my understanding of what work is involved in building out this project, and the fact that I know that they're not going to rip me off because they're a referenced, vendor, then you can feel comfortable in that. So you don't have to all become technology wizards. Now, nothing can replace your face on Facebook, right? It's called Facebook for a reason. It's your face, it's your brand, it's your image. And listen, you're not a model, so you don't have to get so hung up on how you look. You're a messenger. So you should get hung up on your message, not how you look. And certainly don't look all scrappy and stuff like that. Like, be yourself, be who you are, because that's who people are going to see. Like, you can't have this one image and persona online, and then when people see you, they might not even recognize you. So people should know you. They should get comfortable with your face, because that's what you want anyways. Like, don't you want people to get comfortable in a relationship with you after, as you start doing business with them? But what if you could fast forward that relationship development, years or months or weeks in some cases. So then when people come in to see you, they want to do business with you. They already feel like you have this celebrity status, and they trust you. So they're much more likely to move forward with your care, or they're already ready to go right at that point. It's way less work when you build this authority leading up to that initial engagement, face-to-face engagement or higher ticket item, versus trying to take cold traffic and then convert them, and be like, hey, maybe you should watch these 1,000 Facebook videos I did before your next appointment so that you know, like, and trust me, right? It's probably not going to happen.
It's such an interesting way that you and I are having a conversation. And I feel like a lot of people listening are like, what are they even talking about? And in my opinion, like the business model of health has changed with the addition of Instagram stories and Facebook Live and things like Zoom and podcasts. Like I know that Facebook Live and Instagram stories have changed the game for us as an industry. I believe that those of us who are willing and consistently putting ourselves on live will win faster than those of us who don't. Now, on the flip side, I know that there's so many people who are scared shitless about, creating a brand around themselves. What do you think about like the whole addition of Facebook Live and personal brands versus like being the professional naturopath and chiropractor? And, I think there's such a massive shift in the way that we're conducting business. And I'm so curious just to hear what you think about that.
Well, I mean, it's no surprise that all of us are kind of fans of Facebook Live, and Facebook is a huge fan of Facebook Live because of the level of engagement that they get. And what they've predicted, I think it's by 2021, that Facebook will primarily be a live video feed platform.
Interesting.
So that's the direction things are trending in. And so I would definitely encourage people to start engaging in that platform. Now, here's the other thing. You don't have to always show your face. I mean, people are going to get bored of that after a while, right? They kind of know what you look like at this point. You can show them what's going on in the kitchen, and you can show them what's going on in your office. You can show them what's going on, at the gym. Let's say you're exercising or something like that. You don't have to sit there with this, like, all your cue cards and everything prepared. Like it's supposed to be a very organic, thing. And that's what people tend to watch. Like if we had this like super professional, super scripted, finely edited, perfectly lit environment, people actually don't want to watch that. If that's what they want to watch, that's already all available for them to watch it like that. But what they want to watch is they want to see you in your environment. They want to see you in your element and connect with you. So yeah, I think that Facebook Live is huge. You can do it from any device. And, just going back to something that we talked about, people might think, oh, everyone's doing it. So here's the thing. Here's a paradox of that. If you feel like everyone's doing it, you probably have the right circle of influencers in your life, right? I would love to be in a room where everyone's doing it, because then we could up level the game, right? Yeah. So when I go to a mastermind, everyone there is doing it. So that's the room I want to be in, right? But I also have to realize that those are the only people doing it. So not everyone else, no one outside of that room is doing it. And certainly if you're in a mastermind, nobody's doing it at that level. So yeah. It's good that you have the impression that everyone's doing it. It means you're following the right people, but it's also bad if you let that hold you back.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. So one final question that I have for you: what inspires you to hustle?
What inspires me to hustle is my son, really. I want to show him, I want to leave the world a slightly better place, hopefully a much better place, or at least a world heading in the right trajectory, in the right direction. And I know that I have the ability to do that. I kind of think of it as a gift and a curse. I don't know if you feel like that some days, like the crown is pretty heavy some days, right? And, I just wake up with this inspiration to leave the world better than when I found it, but also even that day, like how can I make people's day better, and go to bed every night knowing that, hey, because I ate, breathed, and functioned today, people's lives are moving in the right direction. And there's never been an easier time to do this ever in human history. So it's our obligation to kind of take it to the next level. And I know that we're trying to inspire people to do things, but listen, if you don't want to do it, there's people like me and Lori that are going to do it.
Yeah.
So the work will get done. We're trying to spread the work, right? Because we want to spread what comes from that work, which is, resource and energy and, serendipity and, positive, circumstance that happens to us. And of course, money is part of that too. But, somebody will do the work. But if you were put on this planet to do the work and share that burden, then just step into it. And amazing things will start happening. Amazing doors will start opening up. Amazing people will start coming into your life. And it's when we face that resistance, and I'm sure people have read Stephen Pressfield's work, just step into it, because the resistance is really the path. That's the path that you need to take. So wherever you feel the most resistance in your life, that's the area that you need to hustle in.
So good. Let's tell everybody where they can go and find your book, because you've recently just become a bestseller. So let's tell everybody about that, and we'll definitely link to it in the show notes as well.
Okay. So maybe I have to buy an actual custom URL for this. We can certainly share the link in the comments, the direct link. But let's just assume it's going to be Perfect Practice Book.
Okay. Say that one more time. What's it called?
Okay. perfectpracticebook.com. Let me see if it's available on GoDaddy. You see, this is the hustle in me. I need to find out right now. So
yeah, you need to have a URL book page for sure. Either way, we will link to it. We will get the right URL for you, because if you are an alternative health practitioner of any kind, this book is going to really help you transition your mindset around what financially thriving practice should look like in the era of tech and social media and personal branding and all of that good stuff. So thank you, Sachin, so much for sharing your wisdom. I always love chatting with you. We will link up to where you can talk to Sachin and find him online. And thanks everybody for listening, and we will talk to you again soon. Have a good day, everybody.
Lori, it's my total pleasure, and thank you so much. I appreciate you. And it is Perfect Practice Book. I just bought it. So take action, guys. That's what it means to take action, is be in the moment, take action. And I hope we've inspired you to take some sort of positive step in the right direction so that you can move your mission and your vision in the right direction.
Amazing. Thanks so much, and have a great day. Bye, everybody. I do hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of the Business of Becoming podcast. As always, you can find any resources and links mentioned on the show over on the show notes, available on LoriKennedyInc.com/podcast. And remember to subscribe and leave a review in iTunes. Let me know what you loved most about this episode. And again, thank you for listening to the Business of Becoming podcast.